The final mock drafts are being updated and released via social media, along with NFL Network, mock drafts. Everywhere people are releasing their final edition of NFL mock drafts, with the NFL draft happening on Thursday night. So, let's review some of the top mock drafts that I find to be most reliable. This take is presented by Hoagland Farm. Hoagland Farm has rotationally grazed 100% grass-fed beef. This beef is sold in quarters and halves, and Jared has custom sample packs so you can try before you buy. Get great beef in your freezers today by a source you can trust with Jared. Contact him at 952-491-1541 and get 20% off your first order by mentioning the Minnesota Tim podcast. Okay, Peter Schrager. He did a mock draft a week ago where he had the New York Giants trading up with the Arizona Cardinals to select J.J. McCarthy. And now he released his final mock draft after being on the phones for a while. And he now has the New York Giants staying pat at number 6, selecting a wide receiver, Malik Nabers. And he has the Minnesota Vikings trading up to that number 7 slot, not number 5 with the Chargers, not number 4 with the Arizona Cardinals, to select J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. And then there's another mock draft. Albert Breer. He is a reliable NFL inside source. He shared that the intel he's heard has the Minnesota Vikings staying put at number 11 after failing to draft or land Drake May in a trade. And everyone is calling the New York Giants bluff at pick number 6 to select the quarterback out of Michigan. So, whose mock draft do I trust more? Well, I'm going to answer with this. I believe that there is so much pressure on Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah from the Minnesota Vikings ownership that he knows he has to trade up to draft J.J. McCarthy. I believe that the time is ticking. The clock is ticking. Kwesi has to make a decision tonight to land and trade up to draft one of the top 4 quarterbacks available in this year's draft. Would I trade up for J.J. McCarthy? No, I would not. But I believe that there is pressure mounting every single day, every single second from Minnesota Vikings ownership on the Minnesota Vikings general manager. Because he knows he needs to land a quarterback in this year's draft. A quarterback that's going to be a franchise guy for the next 10 years. So those are all things that need to be calculated when discussing what's going to happen tonight. Because it's not just the New York Giants that the Minnesota Vikings have to worry about or have to think about in terms of drafting a quarterback. You need to consider the Denver Broncos. You need to consider the Las Vegas Raiders. There are teams all over the NFL every single year that need and demand a quarterback. So whose mock draft do I trust more? I trust Peter Schrager's mock draft more. I know both these guys have multiple sources. People have sources in the NFL all over the place. But I just do not think the Minnesota Vikings are going to risk the possibility of having J.J. McCarthy fall off the board if he is the second quarterback that they love in this year's draft and the most likely quarterback that they're going to be able to draft. Because all signs and leads are pointing towards the New England Patriots selecting Drake May with the number 3 overall selection. So the draft is tonight. It's exciting. Things are happening. There's going to be sources saying this and sources saying that all day long. It's going to be a very anticipatory draft because there are so many possible factors going into this year's draft with the Minnesota. For years, it was, okay, the Minnesota Vikings are going to trade back. Kwesi even did it to draft Louis Cine. Rick Spielman did it for years. And now this is the 1 year in a long, long time, maybe ever, where the Minnesota Vikings are going to trade up. Not ever, I've seen them trade up before, but they're going to trade up, most likely, to draft a quarterback. And that's exciting. That's going to get the fan base going, even if it is for J.J. McCarthy, a guy that I've been really, really critical of this entire offseason. But things are happening. Things are moving in directions, and we'll see. Nobody really knows. Minnesota Vikings don't even know what's going to happen tonight. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button right there. And if you're listening in Apple or Spotify, please rate, review, and follow this podcast wherever you're listening to this podcast. Thank you for making this podcast and this episode a part of your day.